Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about this book that I bought I think over a year ago and I never got around to it. With the upcoming responsibilities that I'm going to have during my senior year academically, I need to hone in on my reading speed and comprehension, especially as someone with ADHD. I can find it very difficult to just sit down with and digest certain reading materials without zoning out, unless it needs to grab me right away. And that's why I have a love for reading, but I struggle often with speed for most other reading materials. And with my upcoming responsibilities with the research assistantship and the upcoming LSAT and my reading needed in my LSAT prep books and the reading I'll be doing in my political courses, I know that I need to be better at not just speed, but as well as comprehension. So if you are someone like me where you can read the words on the page, you can get a general idea, but then about 3 pages in, if someone asks you what you actually digested from the book so far, you wouldn't have anything to say. If you're anything like that, then you might want to watch this video and you might want to check out this book. So how I want to go about this video is just reading the introduction as well as the first chapter and show you what I did, the notes that I've taken, and what stood out to me. Without further ado, I'm just gonna jump right into it. So I'm gonna start with the introduction. The sheer volume of information the eyes take in at any moment is incomprehensible. Look around and take note of everything you see. If outside, notice the trees, cars, people, and everything in between. If sitting at a desk, take note of the pens, paper, notebook, and all the other materials in front of you. The mind processes these objects so fast, you're not aware of the processing happening. You simply move your eyes in a direction, and they instantly detect and simultaneously understand what is there. When we read, however, things are not as smooth and fluid. It takes time and effort to process words and the meaning conveyed by those words. For many, reading is a demanding activity that consumes a lot of mental energy. For some, it is so demanding that they avoid reading altogether. So the question is, why can't we process text the same way that we process other objects in our physical environment? The truth is, we can. The human eye is an incredible organ. Containing 2 million components and 12 million photoreceptors, it is the second most complex organ in the body. It functions faster and has a wider dynamic range than any camera. Brain scientists and informational experts assert that more than 80% of the information we receive comes through the eyes. The eyes do not operate alone, but work in conjunction with the brain. In fact, the eyes are connected directly to the brain, leading many to think they are an extension of the brain rather than a distinct separate organ. Scientists estimate that as much as 65% of the brain is used to process visual information. If the eyes are the second most complex organ in the body, that makes the brain the most complex. In fact, leading psychiatrists like Sir Robin Murray and physicists such as Michio Kaku assert it is the most complex structure in the known universe. The brain is behind our every thought, action, memory, feeling, and experience in the world. So, humans are walking around with 2 of the world's most complex systems working together to provide the basic foundation of intelligence through observing, thinking, writing, and above all, reading. We have the natural ability to read and process information at a very high level. Unfortunately, most are simply not using this ability. That's because reading isn't something that originated or exists in nature. Reading is something that humans created, and since it is human-made, it is not an instinctual skill that we are born to do. It is a skill that must be learned. Most of us learn to read, but that doesn't mean we learn to read in the best way. Our educational systems and teachers, along with parents, do an admirable job of teaching us how to combine words to form sentences. However, they don't necessarily teach us the most effective way to use our impressive eyes and mind to do that. As a result, we are left feeling like we are not capable of reading better or reading faster. This couldn't be further from the truth. The reality is we are capable of reading better and faster than we ever imagined. We simply need to learn the correct ways to use our infinitely powerful eyes and mind. That is what this book aims to teach. With simple strategies that unleash the power of your mind and sight, the techniques in this book fill in the gaps teachers failed to cover to accelerate reading. If you seek that level of improvement, continue reading. The process. Since the eyes and mind already process information at a high level, this book doesn't require learning or doing anything new or difficult. All it requires is to make slight shifts in reading habits. As a result, this book is not very lengthy or complicated. Each chapter is a few pages long and easy to read and digest. The chapters provide exactly what is needed to improve reading speed, and nothing more. The truth is, many of the essential shifts in reading habits take only a few minutes to learn. You can literally double or even triple current reading speed within minutes of reading some of the chapters, and increase speed further after practicing the additional suggestions. With commitment, there is no doubt that you will develop the ability to read a 200-plus page book in 1 hour. Also, reading and comprehension go hand in hand. So, in addition to improving reading speed, you will learn to improve comprehension. After all, the purpose of reading faster is to learn more information. What good is reading quickly if you can't make sense and retain that information? Improving speed without improving comprehension is not speed reading. The goal is to read faster with greater comprehension at the same time. This book is divided into 5 sections. Each section has 3 chapters, and each chapter covers one aspect of the speed reading process. Section 1 discusses what to do before you read. Most people assume reading is merely picking up a book and looking at the words. That's an ineffective approach. There are important steps that precede the reading process, and the chapters in this section discuss these steps and explain why they are important. Section 2 presents techniques that increase your ability to read more words in less time, significantly more words in a significantly shorter time. The techniques in this section are what people are seeking when they look to improve reading speed. It is the heart of the speed reading process, and where those small shifts in habits that bring about the big results lie. Section 3 expands on the techniques presented in Section 2. It offers tips on how to both enhance and refine the suggested previous techniques, all toward pushing reading speed even further. Committing to these chapters will allow you to practically inhale information from written material. Section 4 is about comprehension. Remember, reading without comprehension is not reading. The section presents strategies to better understand how authors organize written material and how to use that knowledge to understand their message better. This section also addresses creative ways to enhance vocabulary, a critical element for both speed and comprehension. Section 5 addresses topics that don't fit really anywhere else. Although each chapter in this section stands on its own, each contains important lessons to enhance the reading experience, including improving memory, overcoming daydreaming, and maintaining eye health. This final section ties everything together. Many of these tips, strategies, and techniques are time-tested and have been taught since the 1950s by pioneers such as Evelyn Wood, an educator widely known for popularizing speed reading. Since then, others have contributed to the subject, including Wade Cutler, Stephen Frank, and Peter Kump. At initial glance, all of this may seem like a lot to take in, but trust me, it is not. Remember, each chapter is only a few pages, and the majority of the advice is easy to read and understand. After understanding what to do, it is simply a matter of practice. This brings up the next point. Old habits die hard. Although the lessons do not present significant learning challenges, where challenges may arise is in shifting reading habits. Habits are routines or behaviors that are repeated so often and for so long that they become automatic, and then become permanent. Habits engage without conscious choice or decision, and often become the default action or response. Any behavior can become a habit, and that includes poor reading. Habits can be difficult to break, extremely difficult. Even when a behavior isn't working and a better way does exist, habits will hold on to you. Even if the alternative is the simplest solution, explained using the clearest instructions ever written, habits will make it difficult to apply. Despite knowing what to do and how to do it, old habits make it challenging actually to do it. Such is the nature of habits. They are designed to keep you in a pattern regardless of the benefit or pain they bring. Therefore, something as simple as shifting your eye gaze may at first feel like pulling teeth, creating intense amounts of resistance and discomfort or even pain. To effectively apply the instructions in this book, it is vital to break free from old habits and adopt new ones. The way to do that is with practice drills, which involve repeating a routine over and over and over, not in conjunction with any other activity, until the body develops a rhythm and a habit for it. Drills are essential to skill development. High performers in many disciplines become high performers by regularly practicing their craft with drills. They are key to learning, retaining, and most importantly, easing into something new. For this reason, the chapters in this book end with practice drills that help you integrate and become accustomed to the instructions. I strongly recommend doing them before moving to the next chapter. The mind and body learn better from doing than from reading, hearing, or seeing. The sooner you start applying the techniques, the sooner you'll see improvements. That means not only will these drills motivate you to begin using the techniques, but they will maximize learning. Also, these drills build on one another. For example, the drill in one chapter instructs practicing one technique, while the drill in the very next chapter instructs practicing another technique in combination with the previous. In a subsequent chapter, you'll then practice the three together, and so on. This cumulative approach trains you to use the techniques simultaneously. This way you can learn, understand, and physically integrate all the lessons by the time you finish the book. After finishing, you can jump to speed reading other material instead of starting at square one. Fortunately, the drills presented in this book are brief and straightforward, each requiring only 5 to 20 minutes to complete. Working through them will make a big impact on your ability to learn and integrate the information. If you skip the drills, you will experience difficulty with the techniques and ultimately not form the necessary habits to use them. People falsely assume that they can take what they read and automatically apply it. That's wishful thinking. In order to apply these techniques, you need to actually apply the techniques, and these drills will help you do that. With that said, don't skip any of them. They're the most important part of this book. Many of the drills involve practicing on various types of materials, so before reading further, gather as many materials as possible, everything from stories, novels, narratives, and articles, to textbooks, manuals, newspapers, trade journals, to a variety of magazines such as fashion, business, or special interest. Keep these materials at arm's length, so when you arrive at a drill, you can practice right away. It might help to visit a library or bookstore since all this material will be nearby. If that's not possible, work with what is available in your immediate environment. With everything out of the way, let's learn how to read 200 plus pages in 1 hour. Section 1. As noted in the introduction, reading isn't about jumping into a book the second you pick it up. Important steps precede the reading process that aid in absorbing the text. 3 chapters in this section discuss these steps, starting with purpose. Have you ever noticed when you're in the market for a new car and have settled on a model to buy, you suddenly begin seeing that model everywhere? Or when setting a goal, opportunities related to that goal and ways to achieve it start appearing all over? This happens because the mind is a goal-seeking, purpose-driven machine. Setting a goal or a purpose activates different neural networks and regions of the brain to work in unison. So, each region is not just doing its own thing, but works together to achieve the goal. With purpose, the focus of the mind changes and its awareness opens, often without you even realizing it. Hence, why new opportunities begin appearing seemingly out of nowhere. Of course, those same opportunities existed before setting your goal, but since they were of no interest at the time, the mind paid them no attention. In addition to achieving goals, numerous well-documented studies show that purpose offers a host of physical, mental, and emotional benefits. Purpose in a person's life reduces the risk and effects of illnesses, including heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, depression, addiction, suicide, and anxiety. Purpose improves mental function, increases concentration, and actually repairs the DNA. When people have purpose, they live longer, are happier, and have an easier time handling challenges, finding solutions, managing conflicts, using their resources, and most importantly, living with a sense of belonging. Purpose has power. Purpose has power with reading as well. When a goal or purpose is applied to a reading assignment, the mind suddenly stops wandering and instead becomes focused on the material at hand. Education writer Janelle Cox notes that purpose for reading helps keep students focused and engaged while reading, and gives them a mission so that comprehension can be reinforced. Since purpose has such power, anytime you sit down to read, set a goal or a purpose. Determine beforehand what you want or hope to gain from the material at hand. Interestingly, we all have purpose when reading. Anytime we pick up a book or magazine or article, it's for a reason. The reason might be to ace an exam, or write a paper, or complete an assignment. Maybe it's to find an answer, learn a skill, solve a problem. Some read to end boredom, or to unwind and get lost in a fantasy. Whatever the purpose may be, there is a purpose, even if you don't consciously recognize that purpose. Now, just because you know the purpose, that doesn't mean your mind will know it as well. Too often we assume that we are one with our minds. We believe that when we know what we want, our minds will automatically know it as well. Sadly, that just isn't true. At any given moment, we have hundreds or even thousands of wants, drives, and desires percolating inside. Our minds are sifting through all of these wants to figure out which one to pursue in the moment. Should I message a friend, respond to the boss, watch that show, eat my lunch, clean up, ask out my classmate, listen to music, play outside? Clarifying your purpose helps the mind tremendously. Instead of deciding which of the hundreds of urges to follow, it has a clear directive. It knows what to tune out and where to turn its attention to. In other words, if you want your mind to know and pursue your goals and intentions, you must identify and clearly state them. Therefore, when you pick up something to read, state the purpose or intention of reading it. The clearer the purpose, the easier it will be for the mind to grasp the information, and the faster you can sift through it. Your purpose does not have to be long, drawn out, or complicated. It can be as simple as, I'm reviewing yesterday's notes to find answers for tomorrow's assignment. That's it. The key is to determine why you are reading the text and what you want to know once you're finished. If reading for an assignment, you might ask why the instructor assigned the chapter or section. Two universal examples include, what am I getting out of this material? Or, how will reading this material help me? Another option is to ask yourself specific questions that you'd like the material to answer. This option is easier with manuals and guidebooks, but can be applied to other materials as well. The following are suggestions for different purposes you can set for all types of materials. These examples illustrate how to define and state a purpose. Sometimes it's annoying to step back and set a target, and have to do so every time you sit down to read. I'm sure you would rather just get started, because the sooner you can start, the sooner you will finish. Sure, setting purpose takes time, but very little time. It shouldn't take longer than a few seconds to 1 minute to state something clear and meaningful. The short time you spend will, in turn, help you get more from the reading itself, which will ultimately save considerably more time in the long run if you have to reread. The practice drill. For this drill, take out a blank sheet of paper. Write down all types of material you have read in the past. Know anything and everything, whether it was sports magazines, internet articles, Twitter posts, history book, science report. Don't limit the material to what was read in the recent past. Go as far back as possible. After writing down everything you can remember, next to each item, record your reason for reading that piece. Think about the reasons this chapter described earlier. Whatever they are, note them down. Next, compile a list of all the reading you have planned for the next week, whether for school or work or leisure. Next to these items, again, cite the purpose. Number 3, repeat step 2 for everything you expect to read in the next month. For students, this should be straightforward, since most teachers and professors provide a course syllabus outlining the required readings. Once again, think about the motivation for reading each of these items. What do you hope to get from the material? Even if it is painstakingly obvious, write it down. Make sure to be detailed and descriptive. Don't simply write the purpose for reading the report is to not get fired or to not fail the class. Write in such a way that would allow someone who doesn't know you to clearly understand your motivations. Purpose is valuable because it helps us determine what we want to get out of the material. Once we know, we can examine it to see if it will meet our goal. If it does not, a great deal of time is saved right away. So how does one examine a written piece to see if it meets a given purpose? We will discuss this in the next chapter. So for this drill, I already completed it. So I did all the materials that came to mind that I've read in the past. And then it says books that I plan to read in the next week. And then it says plan to read in the next month. but I just went to the next year because that just makes more sense for me. So I have the types of materials I have read most in the past, the materials I plan to read in the next week, the materials I plan to read in the next year. And then I wrote next to them the purpose that I have for reading them. So I really like to read memoirs, and I wrote the purpose for reading these is to understand unique human experiences and challenges and how real life people have conquered their challenges. Young adult novels to sympathize and understand myself and kind of lose myself in a story that I might be able to hypothetically relate to. Horror novels, specifically Stephen King, but most horror and mystery novels because of their vivid imagery, and again, to lose myself in the tension of their story. Like, I get very lost in like the suspense. History and historical fiction to sympathize with people of the past or fictional characters taking place in real historical events, just to sympathize and grow my personal knowledge of history. Poetry, the purpose I've read poetry is to learn how to creatively convey emotions. Yeah, I guess I don't know how else, what other reasons. Poetry has also helped me understand rhythm, but it's also been so that I can get through a class. Romance, I don't read as much, but I have in the past, so I wrote more to distract myself, like a rare guilty pleasure, like a cheesy romance novel. I might do it as just to lose myself once again, but it wasn't often. Again, one that was more rare was mental health and sports articles, so usually about Naomi Osaka, who's been very open about her struggles with anxiety and social anxiety, and various other female athletes that have come out to talk about their struggles with mental health and ruminating thoughts to do with OCD and anxiety. The purpose of reading those types of articles is to confirm within myself that these conversations are important and should not be treated as taboo. So that's usually why I would read those. And then also rare but worth noting are self-help books, and that's more to understand big picture issues that I have to fix, that certain self-help books can call me out on. Then on to materials in the next week/month will be the Reading Faster book, obviously, to improve a skill that I seem to be lacking in or that I've lost. The LSAT logic loophole, the LSAT logical reasoning loophole book is to prepare for how logical reasoning questions are structured and predicted on the most recent version of the LSAT. So I want to be very well prepared for how the questions and stimuli are structured in the LSAT exam. The next one is the LSAT workbook by Mike something, I forgot his name, but that one's been really popular. And that just has a lot of drills, and that's all I put my purpose is to just go through the drills. That's more writing work and practice drills and things like that, rather than the other one is reading. Then I have my vocab improvement workbook. I really just want to improve my vocab after quite a few years of not prioritizing that. I would really like to feel like I'm expanding my vocabulary and getting those synapses firing, I guess. And then my old logic textbook to review old homework and old drills and old argument types from my freshman year of college. That was a really fun class for me, and it felt relatively easy. And I just want to go back and look at the old assignments and the old definitions and the argument types and the P's and Q's formulas. So I want to go back and review that. So that's the purpose for that. Then materials for the next year, I have my American Congress textbook to understand and review American governmental structures, my Principles of Finance textbook to expand my financial literacy in the business realm, my advertising textbook to understand the psychology of brand advertising, astronomy textbook to understand my greater purpose and place in the universe while learning how the stars and planets function and move and exist with one another. Middle East, my Middle East reading, so my Middle Eastern conflicts course will be in the spring, and I know from hearing from others that that is a very reading heavy course, and the text is very expansive. My purpose of reading for that oh my god, my purpose of reading the Middle Eastern conflicts text is to expand my understanding of global issues and better my understanding of the complexity of Middle Eastern conflicts. So that's what I wrote down. It's definitely a variety. It's like a weird jumble up here because it's, you know, all the ones that came to my mind from the last few years. And then this is obviously immediate that have almost entirely to do with LSAT prep, and then this has more big picture over the next year with regards to my courses. I have some leisure readings that I really hope to, not some, I have a lot on my reading list for my leisure readings, but I can't just fill up that much. It's not worth it because these are immediately like, I need these books. I know I'm going to read them very soon. The other books are just kind of like, all right, I'll read them when I get to them. So, okay. So I've just finished reading the introduction and chapter 1 of section 1 of this book, and I think my next video will be chapters 2 and 3 of section 1, obviously still. The next chapter is called The Power of Preview, and I really liked this chapter, and I just did one of the drills today. I really liked it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your time. I hope you also did one of the drills, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.